Bodhisattva lives prajnaparamita, with no hindrance in mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. Far beyond deluded thought, this is nirvana. All past, present, and future Buddhas live prajnaparamita, and therefore attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. Chanting, reciting the Heart Sutra, the Enmei-juku, or other sutras are to support and remind us of who and what our life is, what our life practice is. With no hindrance in mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. And yet, have you sensed hindrance in your life? Being hindered? When have you sensed being hindered? Which is asking, looking, when have we found ourselves being troubled by events, by circumstances, by actions that we take, others take, or don't take? Whether being hindered by so-called inside or so-called others, so-called outside, so-called by myself, by cause and effect, which manifests as others doing. When we notice hindrances of any sorts, of all sorts, it's useful as a practice support to look for a moment, what is being believed? Because hindrance is believing. What is arising as the believing of this moment, of this so-called hindrance? And how do we take this, face this as our practice, respond as the practice of life in the midst of this so-called hindrance? In Zazening, we discover, in being present, we discover at times that we're holding to fears, believing fears, believing that this moment, this life moment hinders. And yet, the Heart Sutra is reminding us that in being this prajnaparamita, that is who we are, no hindrance. And yet, as this no hindrance practice life in the midst of being hindered, what is it? One aspect of this is allowing fear to be revealed as the no fear moment that we are, to be released as this moment, this transformation, if I use such a word, of not hindered in the midst of cause and effect, right here, far beyond what we're holding to. Not because we change, but because we be and see this moment as is. Nowhere else. It's not a matter of going, but to see this as truly is, which is what the Heart Sutra reminds us. Being the emptiness of all the five conditions. Those are words. If you look for something called emptiness, we will never find it. It's nowhere else. If we look for something where I'm going to not be hindered, we're already making trouble. Simply cease searching for something else, and right here, all is revealed. Prajnaparamita is all right here, far beyond deluded thought. This is the life of no hindrance, non-hindrance, the zazen of emptiness of all the five conditions. It's exactly in the midst of this conditions is our life, is our practice. Form exactly emptiness. Emptiness exactly the form of this moment, which is why our practice is being just this. Even as hindrances of all sorts seem to arise, seem to occur, right here is where we embrace this life and respond. No suffering, and yet no end to suffering. When we believe suffering, when we hold to them and act on them, then of course there are all sorts of consequences. Greed, anger, delusions are entertained. And yet we have the ability, the opportunity to notice if and when this occurs and to right here make the skillful practice effort that's called for, being just this moment. A facet of hindrance, if we call it that, is fear, is bumping up and even entangling in emotion, thought, beliefs, and feelings of discomfort, even so-called danger. And these are simple reminders of the practice opportunity, of the zazening opportunities when noticed, when experienced. That's our life of living the Prajnaparamita, of being no one, going nowhere, right here, right now. For some of you recently, I've mentioned again or reminded you again that if you need a practice support, thanks for everything. I have no complaints, even in the midst of the complaining hindrances that might be. Zazening just this moment is our opportunity, and there's myriad bodhisattvas that support us. Please make good use of them. Please be supported. Please be this life opportunity. Thanks for everything. No complaints whatsoever.